Welcome to the cafe. It's nice to see you in this space. It's nice to share this energy exchange with you. Clearly you're here because you're the title dealing with uncertainty is relevant to you somehow, and I hope these three messages prove to be of use to you somehow, that you can find some peace with it. If the messages resonate, take it and apply it, and let it bring lots of positivity to you. And if they don't, just leave the rest and come back to it later, and maybe it'll be more useful to you then. Otherwise, just take what never resonates and leave the rest. There are three messages here for dealing with the feelings of uncertainty. My aim with this video is to help you see that everything that you need is within you. There is nothing outside. I'm not here to predict or guess anything that's coming up externally. It's just that the intention behind this is to return back to us, you and me, back to our own sense of self-possession, our own autonomy, our own peace within ourselves, because that is ultimately where our home is, where our safety is. That's what I believe and am passionate about. And when we don't have those feelings, it can often be because we have this idea that uncertainty is some sort of obstacle to us feeling safe. And it might not be articulated in our minds as such, but I'm hoping to use words to describe a feeling that when we say to ourselves many things, but one of them could be, when I feel more certain, I'm going to feel more safe. And ultimately, that's what I want to feel, is safety. And then what the temptation can be, especially if we have got through something and our reserves are depleted and we're looking to replenish our reserves. So if there has been an incident that's required a lot of your time and huge change, and you've got through it, but those reserves have been depleted, going through change and embracing it and learning to adapt can be very exhausting. And deciding who we want to be in this new season of our life can be really exhausting too, because we are making new habits, and that takes a conscious choice rather than the habitual choices that we've made historically. And because we are exhausted we could be exhausted from the experience, what might happen is the temptation to go to familiar habits can be quite strong when our energy is low. For example, we may have decided that in this new experience we're going to be brave and we're not going to people please anymore. But when our reserves are low and we're feeling exhausted, and that impending feeling of lack of safety or uncertainty is creeping in and it won't go away, and you start to feel the nag, in order to get a bit of relief, the temptation to people please might become stronger, or the temptation to go back into patterns where we behave in certain ways in order to elicit certain behaviours from others. It could be walking on eggshells, or it could be making sure things are a certain way so that somebody else stays happy. It all is, in its most basic form, a level of us not being our authentic selves, and contradictory to the direction that we wanted to go in when we were faced with that original challenge. I hope that makes sense. So it's a good time to pause which is what we're doing right now in this video. Just take a moment to ground ourselves in the present moment. This is a really strong reminder that we're doing a really good job. And these feelings are very normal. And while they may be new to us, this is a very human and well-experienced trait. And many people that we admire, you will find, have said things along the lines of, it's perfectly normal to have this feeling, to feel doubt. But the trick is to make sure we ground ourselves or remind ourselves not to fall back into old patterns. These 3 messages are little moments in time to give us a little pep talk, to remind us that we even though we may feel depleted, we have what's in us to gently and consistently move forward in the way that we choose to, and continue to choose consciously. So the first message, let me just check to see whether I've mentioned everything I wanted to make notes on. So in this state, we're feeling stretched thin and we're feeling exhausted, and we're looking for that security and that certainty so that we can rest. Do we continue? How can we relax and ground in when nothing is certain? Because that is another thing that is said very clearly, that nothing is certain. And on the other side of an experience that can feel quite life-changing and out of control, out of my control, out of our control, it can be not something that we want to relive regularly. So there's 3 messages here that are coming through to help with those feelings of uncertainty, and to look at it in the way from a higher perspective that incorporates more of the landscape, rather than the singular idea that we want just to feel safety so that we can rest. That was my nice beverage. So the first one is to be fair in protection. So it's about cause and effect and wisdom. The unpredictability of it all. I'll bring it closer so you can see the card. So this is in protection mode. I think the message in here is that yes, we are on this journey and we bring with us wisdom, but just be careful not to be too regimented with the ideas. It's not a cause and effect. The idea of this fortune, fortune that we experience, and also the potential of our reality is a fluid state. It is not. There are so many more invisible elements to it than what we realize, and we can't. It's not about intellectually being able to articulate it. It's about saying, yes, I have lots of wisdom, but also I am new and I'm a learner, and it's embracing that curiosity. So instead of saying, it could be, instead of saying, I'm looking for one piece of security just so that I can rest, you could begin with, I wonder what. I wonder what it's going to be like. I wonder what's around the corner. It lends a sense of wonder and interest in what's going on. I also notice that the person here is also carrying the scales on their shoulders. So these ideas that are there could have been quite burdensome. And the things that come into our life that have shaken things up were there to free us of these burdens of cause and effect and this rule and that routine. And there was beauty in that. And through the acute feeling of exhaustion, we can often forget the beautiful blessings that were found along the way. So the message coming through is that it could be recommended to write down the beautiful experiences of that time. Maybe it could be small notes to put into a jar, or it could be a journal entry of the beautiful blessings, because long after the busyness of life returns and the feeling can linger of the body recuperating from it, because it's often the last to return back to its normal state after there's been some sort of emotional or physical upheaval, and giving the body its time to process. Being able to look back at those blessings that were there can help remind us that we are okay. And to free us from the burden of seeing things as so black and white all the time. Yes, there is fortune. Yes, there is creative potential. Yes, there is the wisdom, but there's also the blue sky of spirit in whatever form it takes with you, that supports you. And remember that as part of your equation as well. The second message is go the distance. Sometimes the cheetah is known for, I'll pick it up. The cheetah is known for its ability to travel at fast speeds, but it's not known for its ability to travel at fast speeds for long durations of time. It is able to do bursts of this, and it also spends time resting. It has that within it when it needs it, and it launches into action when it needs to do what it needs to do to survive. We focus heavily on that and identify it as part of its entire personality. But if we were to watch and observe cheetahs for most of its life daily, we would notice that that burst of energy is only needed when it is there to survive. The rest of the time, it is doing what a cheetah does. But we don't focus on those elements. We focus on the focus is, generally speaking, on that burst of energy to survive, which is exactly reflective of that uncertainty that we have experienced at one point or another in our life. And after it has done what it needs to do, it needs time to rest and recuperate, which is exactly what we need to do here as well. And expecting ourselves to be something other than the cheetah, who is spectacular in its ability to do what it needs to do, is also knowing and works within its it knows that it needs its time to replenish its energy, and it will come back again. So not only is this downtime needed, and it's okay, and the lack and this idea that certainty is needed can just be a symptom of the fact that the reserves are down and that we need rest. It's also a reminder that it's a normal part of healing when energy has been expended to do what it needs to do spectacularly. So like the cheetah, you have behaved spectacularly and used an incredible amount of energy to survive and thrive in your environment. Now you're in the period of rest. Your energy is going to come back again, because this is what you were built to do. The way that you expended your energy as well is the choice that you made. You could have behaved differently in this situation, but because you are as spectacular as what you are, you handled it as spectacularly as you did. So you need to rest. And when life happens, because the only thing that is certain is change, you can rely on the fact that you will choose a path that is reflective of how spectacular you are right now. Don't diminish how well you did, and be proud of yourself and rest, knowing that you have concrete evidence of that you are somebody little you would be very proud to be. And the last message, chaos and conflict. So this final message is right side up. I will bring it up closer so you can have a look at it. I'm noticing the sky as well, cloudy, open skies with all of them. For me, that represents that we have this focal point, which is present for each of them. Actually, there's a focal point of that we look at for each one. However, we are completely engulfed in the sky there as well, which is us being surrounded by and working with spirit. And whether the clouds is something building or something receding depends. I think that's the tidal flow of the way that we experience life. And maybe the message here that I'm picking up is that instead of feeling we can look at things as uncertain. Instead of looking at it as uncertain, we can look at it as unpredictable, because we don't know all the mechanics behind everything that's going on, because there's this wonderful matrix that we're a part of, and we don't have to know the wonderful matrix that's going on, and we don't have to, and by not knowing, things become unpredictable as well. And how do we embrace the unpredictability of it? Chaos and conflict happens when we renovate something, when we have to, if there's a room in our homes that needs to be renovated, what has to happen? We have to get tools of destruction to bring the old internal structures down and bring it back to the bare bones, so that we can lose that hardened shell that we don't want anymore. And it's messy, and it requires skills that are underrated, like patience and negotiating and understanding, and sometimes assertion as well. And also it can require, it also can bring about conflict. All these things are very normal in the process of modernizing something, and you can be in a process of modernizing as well. And yes, this push towards certainty can just be an outset of the breakdown and rebuild that's going on. And while there was the motivator to choose a certain way of approaching the situation, now that we are on the other side of it, this is where the marathon begins, where we incorporate and integrate these newly formed habits. We break away the less authentic sides of ourselves, and we get closer to who we really are. And this is a new process, and we are dealing with the conflict and the chaos that goes with the uncertainty. But in that, we get to choose to focus on the adventure that's in it as well. We get to choose what we want to focus on. Do we want to choose to focus on the fact that things are uncertain and that we can't find a place that it actually is certain? And if we do, we're being less authentic and we're engaging in people pleasing, or modifying our behaviour to modify, in the attempt to modify somebody else's behaviour, so that we create a sense of control over our environment? Or do we want to embrace the unpredictability of life and choose to focus on the wonder? And is that a more scary prospect because we have picked up stories that tell us it isn't good to do that? Because stability is always thought of as the best way to be. But is stability and grounded the same thing? That's something for you to decide. So you being your authentic self, you get to choose what you focus on. And that is living with the essence of life, is to choose your focus. And you can choose to focus on the knockdown of the way that it used to be, or you can focus on the potential of what's emerging underneath. And you get to make that choice every day. So they are the 3 messages that came through. I know that that a lot of those messages resonated with me in my life as well. take what resonates, ignore the rest. It's lovely to see you in the cafe. Thank you if you have stayed this long for listening, and feel free to subscribe to the channel if you would like to see more of this content, and also feel free to comment below on anything that resonated with you. Take care.